Welcome to Stim Talk. This is a podcast by fans for fans. My name is Noah Praxis. I'm the host of the show, and I'll be joined by my co-host Mason or Trolls. Uh, we are a podcast talking about all things COD, roster moves, game mechanics, and anything and everything CDL.
All right, we got some topics for you today. We got a couple of them, a couple good ones, a couple fun things for after the episode. Once we're done talking about these couple topics, still a slow off season, but we're gonna talk about some Twitch and YouTube, the viewership, maybe the CDL going to YouTube exclusively, maybe it's sticking around on Twitch, maybe doing both. They did switch mid-season, so we'll see what's going on there. The third game mode, a lot of people been talking about changing it up from control. Not a lot of people like it. So maybe we talk about that. What we'd like to see. What could we see something returning? We'll see about that. What do we think about people with a different movement that's kind of being talked about in the next game? Who we think is kind of going to have a bounce back, or who we think is going to have a little hurt off year going into next season with the new movements and everything. So we can get right into this first topic: Twitch and YouTube.
Oh
Saw
man,
saw the return to Twitch after the YouTube deal ended and mid-season. Everything was going good on Twitch, especially with the skunk bump that happened. All the live stream parties and with Zuma and the Optic guys and all that stuff really saw a bump. And then mid-season, we had a little change of heart there whenever they moved over to YouTube as well. And hearing that maybe we could see a full exclusive to YouTube. Scump talking about he'll probably just go over to YouTube for his watch parties. Zuma staying true to Twitch, said he's going to go back to the old school, just face cam and watching it. So, I think I think this year we had a good bump in viewership. A lot of people had eyes on the scene, and they liked it on Twitch. Not a lot of people are liking the move to YouTube. We saw Hex talk about it in one of their podcasts. Talk about it's kind of a done deal at this point. So it might go to YouTube exclusively next year, and not a lot of people might like that idea. I think it should stay on both, just so we
yeah,
can get
for
more
sure.
eyes.
I definitely agree. It should definitely stay on both, even though we know the viewership was sometimes better on Twitch. But them going being on both, it allows streamers that strictly stream to YouTube and stream to Twitch. They both can do watch parties, and it kind of hurts the scene not being able to have those watch parties and those fun moments with watching them, like watching Zuma all last year. It was very entertaining to watch how they reacted to all the plays and what they had to talk about during the matches.
Yeah, it was fun seeing these older guys react at the same time as we were seeing everything, and it was kind of like a community coming together and watching it, getting some inside scoop, more than just the announcers talking about certain things that they have kind of written down ideas and have the information in front of them. You have somebody there to kind of explain a little bit more in depth of what these kind of players are going through. I think you take that away. You kind of take the brotherhood of everybody watching it together away, and you take some eyes away. Plus, going to YouTube, we all have seen trying to go watch a live stream on YouTube. It's really
Yeah,
hard to find things on that streaming service. So, I mean,
you got to know exactly what you're looking for.
yeah, unless you know where you're going and you absolutely want to watch it, you these newer people are not going to be able to find it unless with it being an exclusive deal, YouTube advertises it a little bit more or
Yeah,
it stays on the front page, but I don't
I, I,
see
I don't see that happening though.
yeah, I don't see big growth in the YouTube space. I see
That's
it sticking
that's
on
kind of why
Twitch.
I wasn't watching it prior to this year really was I didn't know where to look for it. And like I was always intrigued in the scene. It's just I never could find where to watch it on YouTube, and it jumping to Twitch and me and you starting to talk more this year about COD and everything. And you getting me into it. Shit was fun to watch this year.
Yeah, I mean, with it being on Twitch, I mean, most of the time, the top three streamers going on in the whole Call of Duty platform on Twitch it was either Scump or Zuma or the CDL.
Yeah.
And then they had their little bit of viewers on YouTube that kind of were people that used to watch it and it kind of came back to YouTube, so they had it again. Whereas, like, the only places, if whenever it was on YouTube, you could find it is if you went to the website or you were on YouTube purely to just watch the CDL. And it being on both, I think, brings a lot more eyes because you have those people who are
Yeah.
fans of YouTube streaming and you have those fans of Twitch streaming. The Twitch guys are going to stay on Twitch. They'll find something else to watch.
Yeah.
You got the YouTube guys that are going to stay on YouTube. They'll find something else to watch. So it being on both, I think now you cater to both sides. So that way, not everybody is leaving or just kind of forgetting about it now that it's on one spot.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like once they saw the difference in viewership, or at least next year when they see the difference in the viewership they have, they might end up switching it back halfway through the year to being on both, if it is not an exclusive deal just to YouTube.
Yeah, I think the exclusive deal kind of limits the league on what they could possibly do.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of saw it with like the combined watch hours of this past season. A lot of
I mean,
games where,
down here, right? Like
yeah, exactly,
4,597,000 watched on Twitch.
exactly, and that's with a lot with the live streams with Zuma with Scump. So I
Yeah.
mean, you take that away where they can't, especially Zuma has been doing a
Yeah.
lot of things with the CDL.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Uh,
Kind of hurts him, and
yeah, I
it,
mean, now
it's hurting everybody,
that's
honestly.
it's going to take eyes away from the scene
Yeah,
because
definitely.
because Zuma's fans are gonna stay with
Watch
him.
Zuma. Yeah.
They're gonna stay with him, and that's less eyes watching your product. So I mean, if you don't want that and you want the publicity and the advertisement there, then put it on both. I mean, it's a $1 billion company that
Yeah.
if it's that dedicated to having to find someone to pay to have it on their streaming service, then bring it back to open bracket or entry fees open bracket or something. Because I mean, all at the end of the day, these exclusive deals are probably just going to make it to where nobody wants to
It's
watch it.
yeah. It's just gonna hurt the scene in the longer run.
Yeah, I'd much rather see it on both sides
Yeah.
and it continue to grow and have all those eyes on it, because all the eyes opens up to more money at the end of
Yep.
the day. I mean, these
More eyes equal more money to your game.
yeah, you're gonna have more people want to come in and put ads up and pay for ad slot rather than get paid for streaming rights.
I mean, it was like last year with fucking GMC.
Yeah, Hummer doing the deal with Call of Duty for the new EV.
Yeah.
We
Hmm.
had the year before that. We had Zenny, we had Scuff, we had Game Fuel. I think there was a couple more.
I low key forgot Game Fuel was actually a fucking drink.
And then this past season, Monster was a sponsor for a
Yeah,
couple events, I believe.
that was a big one towards the end of the year. Yeah, because I think it was Major 4 when they came in.
Yeah.
It was the major where nobody was there. It was just the players.
Yeah, and then they had that one, and then I know they were advertised a lot for the Ultra Major.
Yeah. and then going into champs.
Yeah. But I think that's about all I got for that one. It just
Yeah.
I think it should stay on both.
Yeah.
It has
Definitely would. It definitely should stay on both.
there's more upside with being on both than it going exclusive.
Yeah.
But I guess we can move on to this next topic, talking about the third game mode. Everybody always talks about the third game mode, and
Oh, this is a touchy subject.
it's changed throughout the years. We've seen the stay of Hardpoint and Search, and it's been the only kind of change in the scene that we ever get, kind of
Yeah.
every couple of years. Where these past few years we've had Control. Not a lot of people fans of Control. It's kind of it gives me old school Demolition when they used to play
Yeah.
Demolition. Uh, these high level players being able to spawn trap and it becomes a kind of
Not.
waste of time. And
You don't even have like shit. Last year with what map was it? Outbacker Fortress.
yeah,
The spawn trap. You didn't even have to be a good player to do those spawn traps. Like you by yourself be the only good player on your team. Have the other tell the other three players where to sit and aim and just shoot anybody that comes out, and you win the round.
yeah,
Not hard.
I mean, there's some good games that came out of the Control, and we'll probably see it again this year.
Yeah.
There was talks about bringing back CTF. It got turned down. I
Oh, I
don't.
would love. I would love CTF back.
Yeah, I don't know how the dynamic is for how they decide what game modes, if it's CDL or if it's a PA kind of agreement. But CTF would be fun to watch. It was fun to watch back in the day.
Yeah.
Another game mode that I remember,
Uplink.
Uplink. Everybody loved Uplink.
That it just wouldn't fit with the style of games nowadays, though. Being
Yeah,
boots on the ground,
I don't
unless
know
you
how
did
I don't know how you would make it work with the boots on the ground.
the only way I can think of is having the up on the ground.
Well, I've thought of ways, and it could be more of like a football type of thing. You
Yeah,
you make like a hard point in the spawn, and then you kind of have like a floating. You can still have the floating ball, but like your dunk would be a touchdown rather than a dunk, and
yeah,
you can still throw the ball into the orb to get the 1 pointer. So I think
yeah.
it could it
That
could
could work.
it could work, but I mean the fun part was always the flying.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
the jetpacks really carried that game mode for sure.
Yeah, the jumping and stealing the shot midair or something like that, or
Yeah,
the head to heads in the air whenever somebody goes for a dunk. Those were fun to watch. But I mean the control thing, it's kind of it's what takes up majority of these games. It's
yeah,
unless you get a team who's like really dominant going against a team who's really not strong at respawn, it goes by pretty fast. You had Ultra was really good at
control last year.
Hotel Control, one of the best teams in Control last game, and and yeah, they had some close games with Thieves and
Phase and optic.
yeah, and then NYSL came and dumped them on their head on some of their best maps.
Told you I don't want to talk about it.
But no, but I think it's kind of gotten to the point where it's a bland game mode. There's not a lot of moments, and it's kind of a buggy game mode. Even since it was introduced, it was a buggy game
Yeah,
mode. That was the problem with the previous games whenever it first got in. There's different spawn glitches and spawn outside the map, and there's a bunch of bugs where the game mode was really hard to play for these pro teams.
yeah,
So I would like to see a different game, a newer mode maybe, a more fluid. I mean, now that we're going back to this newer movement, apparently,
this faster movement, not as clunky as like the old Call of Duties were.
Yeah, I'd like to see a newer, a different, more fast, maybe faster pace. I don't know if you remember, but
Let's.
Blitz from Ghost. That
Oh
game
yeah,
mode was
that game
so
mode
fun
was
to
so much
watch.
fun.
It was.
It's
I mean,
fun to play too.
it was very simple, but it was awesome. And then you have that moment. You go back and you watch Scump whenever he scored like 3 points in 15 seconds on that.
Yeah,
Uh, but I really like that game mode. That game mode was pretty
that game
cool.
mode. Yeah, that game mode was fun.
I think
That's why
that
I think CTF would be such a good fit for these newer CODs, just because of how much more fast paced it is. We'd see a lot more flag captures, back and forth gun battles at the middle of the map. It would be a fun game mode to watch.
yeah, I think it would be. It's a game mode where you could have a lot closer fights than
Hmm.
Control.
Yeah,
Because I mean CTF, you got that guy constantly being pinged on the map, and then you kind of have to build a wall around him
yeah,
as well as defend your own flag. Whereas Control, it's kind of like all right, we can give him that site. Let's just fortress this site and lock it down. I mean, these pro players can have all
I
the
mean, we
talent in
saw
the
it all
world.
through Major One and Hotel Control, just giving up that A point and just holding B.
Yeah, but we had. I mean, these even these good teams getting broken a bunch of times. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of one of those game modes where it's like within the first 2 minutes, if you're getting sloshed on one site, then it's kind of like, all right, just chalk it up. We're throwing away lives. Let's go to the next one.
yeah,
Set up there, set up the spawn traps and all that. Spawn them out. It's just kind of a slower pace for a more faster generation of COD
yeah,
fans. A lot of people like that new school kind of fast paced, shotsy, pred kind of play.
yeah.
So I mean, like I think Control is out of its era. I think Control would have been nice in a game
It
like
would have been
Ghost
really
or
nice back in the day
yeah.
with Ghost, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, stuff like that, where it was more of a slower, clunky paced game. And I think they tried to replicate that with this game, and everybody hated it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a return to like CTF and or Blitz would be a fun change. Blitz,
We just need a revamp in the third game mode.
I mean, yeah, it just there's just, it's kind of something that you kind of need a game mode where it kind of caters to the the pro aspect of
Audience,
things.
yeah,
Like you have you have S&D where you got the slow pace
yeah,
kind of the like wait and suspense kind of game, and then you got hard point. You got those moments where it's like two teams are clashing together and it's
yeah. You
coming
get
down.
those money hills that everyone's just ramming their heads into each point, and
Yeah, and then you
it's
got
a bloodbath.
2249 to 250 games and that are gruelers and grade A bangouts and everything. It's just Control is kind of that one game mode where it's kind of
That
like
outlier.
but it to preach on to advocate for Control. It's kind of a good kind of game because if you think about it, it's always right in the middle. It's always
Yeah,
game three, and you have Hardpoint, that fast pace kind of head to head, and then you got S&D, a little slower head to head, where those two games might be phenomenal. You got game 11, you got a close bang out,
yeah.
and then you can slow it down there in the middle with the Control. I mean, you could advocate it in that sense, but I just think it's an out of place kind of game.
It's everyone's bathroom break game.
Yeah, yeah,
The
that's
seventh inning of a Call of Duty game.
yep. That's what you could pretty much equate it to
Yeah,
if you talk to a heft, probably about 80% of fans will
yeah,
probably say that's when they're like, all right, they're either in a 3-0 or 2-0 where they're like, this team's gonna lose that, or it's a close game where it's kind of
like
like
2-2 overtime.
yeah,
Game 5.
it's like I might be able to come back and catch a little bit of it, but I'll catch the last two games. It's going to a game 5.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a pivot kind of game mode because you could
It's
see.
definitely one that if you go down 0-2 in a series, you could come back and win it off of just your control
Yeah,
too, though.
yeah. But I think we there's better game modes that we could
Yeah.
probably figure out and implement back into the pro
Mhm.
scene. CTF kind of being a kind of the only other viable option at this point, unless they reintroduce a game mode
Like
or,
Blitz.
or like Blitz or Uplink, or make a completely different one to kind of cater to the professional
The
scene.
Yep. I would like to see a new game mode that hasn't been introduced before and have to learn how to play it.
I mean, they introduced a couple new game modes into this past game, so maybe.
Yeah, with Knockout, Prisoner Rescue, which those are all both more like a S&D kind of game style though, which even though Knockout was more of a faster paced S&D, where Prisoner Rescue was that Rainbow Six Siege kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think those two games are more of a tactile kind of.
Hmm.
It was kind of based more toward the casual fan
Yeah,
than the competitive uh, itch, you could say.
yeah. It was for the people that wanted to play S&D but didn't want to play in the S&D lobby.
Yeah, yeah. But but yeah, I think now with this newer movement that we're seeing, and this new kind of output toward the faster pace, I think we need a more faster paced third game to kind of keep the ball rolling on that excitement and bring those eyes back, kind of capture the fan rather than putting them to sleep through a five five
Yeah,
rounds of 5 minute standstills, So as we keep talking about this new movement, they're them talking about bringing dead silence back as a perk,
yeah.
bringing back slide canceling, uh,
Reload canceling.
reload canceling. Red dots are coming back. Talking about who might have a better year with that. You got
Uh,
she got of course.
first two people that come to my mind are obviously Shotzi and Pred.
Yeah, those two
Those are the
guys.
two fastest moving subs in the game. They them being on the same team this year with this new movement,
Yeah,
it's going to make Optic very hard to beat.
yeah, I think you give Pred those red dots and you give Shotzi that new movement,
That
and it's
yeah,
a
it's
scary
game over.
two-headed.
It's yeah, and then you're gonna have Dashi and Quavo Kin just sitting in the lanes, just holding it down.
Yeah, I think that kind of lackluster year that everybody keeps saying Shotzi had, saying that he kind of isn't that superstar anymore that he was in those other games where we did have a lot of movement. Um, I mean, we
I
had
think
a.
that's what hindered his performance this year.
Yeah, I mean, even with Pred, a
Was
lot of people said Pred had an off year coming off of that Vanguard season where we had a little bit more movement in Vanguard than we did from this past title. So I mean, maybe maybe that new movement is gonna bring those two guys back to life for sure. Maybe we see a guy like Hook who has kind of been known to be pretty good at those faster paced games. Maybe we'll see him have a bigger year. Maybe he'll put everybody to bed with the off and on play style. Maybe we'll see the return of that Dallas Empire Hook.
yeah, not this Lanimal or online beast he is.
Yeah. Uh, he'll be able to do it more do it both online and on land now that he kind of puts it to the wind that he can kind of move freely rather
Mm,
than not be condensed to having to move slow and take his time.
yeah, I
But
think that's what really struggling this past year was just that slow move. I feel like it hindered a lot of the subs move guys coming into this game was it being slower. They're all used to this faster paced game that we've had the past 3 years. And it's just something different that they weren't used to, and it a lot.
Yeah, I think we'll also see guys like maybe Kismet,
Yeah.
and how everybody said he kind of started the year off slow. Maybe he'll bounce back, and we'll get that end of season, that champs Kismet that we saw, or maybe we might see a return from one of the Toronto guys. I mean, they killed it in those faster paced games,
Yeah.
like Cold War. They were definitely one of the best teams in the game all season. So maybe
Sadly,
we'll see,
I didn't watch during Cold War. Sadly.
but maybe we'll see a return for one of those guys with the new movement. Um, yeah, there's not many people who are kind of still around now that we could really tell from that
Yeah.
older, faster paced movement from like MW19 and Cold War to now, where it's kind of been 2 games of kind of slower paced game models. You had Vanguard. It was still a little fast. You could fly around a lot, but not as
wasn't
much.
wasn't like Cold War 2019 for sure.
Yeah, and then you got this past game where a lot of people weren't really flying, um, except for Shotzi somehow figuring out how to dolphin dive from dish to all the way out of the doorway to parking lot on hotel. So
Or him figuring out that he could dolphin dive from the top of the fortress maps
yeah,
across into bottom art.
yeah, but maybe we'll see some big bump ups from this past season that we normally aren't used to seeing these other guys play so slow. We might see these faster paced players return to their
Yeah.
faster paced play. I think it's going to benefit a lot of guys. I think it's going to benefit a guy like Simp too. Simp, kind of having to slow his
Mm.
play style down. I think now that
Yeah.
he can kind of run around more freely, especially going into a pure sub role. I think we'll see big things out of him too. More big things than what he already normally
And
does.
yeah, like his fucking 11 kill streak in S&D that one series.
Yeah, but I mean, and then on the opposite side of things, you got guys who we haven't really see play those faster paced games. We don't really know what they're gonna do.
Hmm.
So we got guys like Scrap. We I personally haven't seen him on
Yeah, I haven't
those faster
personally
paced
seen him.
games.
I don't know how he's gonna. I definitely have him as one of those guys that's gonna have not a complete off year, but not a year he had like last year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him having another big year like he did last year, but
Not as big.
yeah, I don't think he's going to be as impactful as we seen him last year, where he's a rookie going up for MVP, uh, kind of like Pred
That
did.
would have been crazy.
Yeah, but
That would have been wild.
yeah, I don't.
Rookie of the year and MVP of the season. That's my boy.
But then I think another guy, Caesar Skies, might have another off year again than like he had back when he was with Mutineers.
Yeah.
Going back to that faster pace, I think now that we were in that kind of slower pace game, he was kind of able to keep up with a lot of these movement guys, and I don't, I don't, I don't know if he'll be able to keep up with them like he was this year.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see Size being a little lackluster of a year. I mean, he didn't have the greatest year stat wise this year, but he still had played an impactful role of them winning champs and winning the 3 majors that they did.
Yeah, or we have another guy like Slasher who kind of we saw a surge from him this year going into the slower pace game, whereas these last 2 seasons before, um, kind of kind of bit lackluster of a year with him bouncing between teams. I mean, on LA Thieves, and then I believe it was LAG. So I mean, maybe the faster pace just he can't keep up anymore with these younger guys. I mean, he was around for the AW, but he's getting a little older now, so maybe he's just not kind of used to
His
these.
reaction time's going down.
Yeah, and whereas people used to kind of float, and it was, I guess you could say, easier to shoot them in these jetpack games where you kind of zip here and then kind of float over here if you didn't save your boost. Now they're kind of just flying across your screen. So
Yeah.
maybe he's just not used to that, and he kind of can't keep up to the newer play style of here than there, and
Hmm.
so I could see him having an off year now that we're kind of going back to a faster.
Yeah, see, I can't really give too much of an opinion on Slasher because obviously this is my first like true year of like sitting down and watching every single game that happened. And so a lot of the older players is my first time watching them play. So I honestly have no clue how some of these older players are gonna do. How some of these newer players are gonna play because they're used to these past two slower games.
Yeah, then you got a couple other guys where like Arcides is kind of one of those youngerish guys on the scene. He's been around for a little bit, but he's kind of in these past 4 or 5 years he's really been a kind of a bigger name for the league. And when he was with Huntsman and on E United playing MW19 and BO4, he was kind of one of those guys where he was really good. And then going into Cold War, being a big guy going into that game, helping that phase team win that championship. And but yeah, and then him kind of taking the high road or taking leave from phase that next year after a slower pace game kind of comes out and didn't have that good of a year, and they thought they needed a rule change, and they moved Arcides, and Arcides went on to LAG and kind of went to an even slower game where he just kind of lacked. So maybe going to the faster game, we might see a return of Alec. So
I would like to see that for sure.
so yeah, I mean that's going back to that rumored surge team that we talked about on the last
Yeah.
episode, where there is upside to them, but is there enough upside?
Hmm.
But I guess we'll see what's going to happen this year with these players now that the movement's kind of changing and this game's ever evolving to different things. Maybe we see some new faces. Maybe old faces aren't as what we're used to seeing them do. Uh, you never know. I mean, after all, it is a sport. Anything could happen. Um, you could one day be top of the game, and then the next day you're at the bottom of the
You
board.
at the bottom of the leaderboard.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's about all I have on those topics for today. You got
Yes.
anything?
I other than like seeing who's gonna have an off year, I I can see, and I don't even know who I would say would have fear this year. Could definitely see a few of these older players definitely having an off year. Maybe some of the newer players out of the rookies having an off year. Just like out of Snoopy, we've seen Snoopy play with the slower pace gameplay. I didn't really see watch any challengers in the years, so I how he formed in the faster paced games if he ever did. And with that being said, I don't know how he's going to play with this faster paced game, and he could be really good or really bad.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the younger guys, I think that they could stay a little bit more consistent. I mean, I think they're a part of that newer generation where they're kind of used to this fast paced gaming. So
Yeah.
I think they'll really if not take off even more than what they have been in recent times, and really be more impactful players with the faster pace movement. Because most of these kids coming up, most of these guys now coming up, I mean, they're S&D guys, so
Yeah,
they're these S&D stompers that kind of run through the map, and they're the fast pace kind of guys, you know.
technically speaking, all of these guys are S&D guys.
Oh yeah,
The game battles.
but I mean, most of these guys, the reason they get
Oh
on
yeah,
these teams is because of the whole
S&D stomping.
they're the guys coming from game battle S&D tourneys and stuff like that. It's how they've
Yeah.
gotten known and how they've gotten picked up from these big rosters.
Oh yeah.
So now I think we can get into a little bit more fun. Maybe we rank these ARs and subs throughout last season. Who we think is the top of the list. I know some of these guys are retired. Some of these guys may or may not be in the league this year, but we'll rank them anyway. And then maybe once the season starts, we can get in some new faces and we can do a preseason ranking of who we think is going to do good and
Good.
who we think is going to do bad, maybe, or who's going to be the lower tier in their
Yeah,
position.
for sure.
But I
I
don't. But once they all the rosters come out and can see what they look like, then we can make a new ranking, a little preseason ranking.
think that would be fun to do once season gets announced and everything.
Yeah. So I guess we can do left to right.
All
If
right.
we want. We got Tyler Fellow.
Ooh, fellow.
I don't.
He, what do we have him marked as for? Okay, so he was an AR.
I want to say he
I
was an AR or a flex. He was one or the other.
because yeah, we'll just call him an AR. Because I know Mutineers.
I know
I know
their
two of the
subs.
Mutineers.
I know
Havoc
their
was a sub,
subs was Havoc
and Vickle
and I
and
think
Yuli.
and Cap. Yuli was with.
Or yeah, Cap. Yuli was
I
London.
think I want to say Brack was the flex.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw him running around with the sub quite a little bit. I want to say Major Maniac and Fellow were your two
two ARs.
ARs with him and with them and Dave Patty, I believe was an AR as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot Dave Patty played for Mutineers a little bit this year.
Yeah. So Tyler Fellow, I'd say C.
Yeah, I say C. He didn't have the best year, didn't have the worst year. Who do we got there for the next one?
Oh, this is Paul EX.
Yeah, I have no
Kind
clue who
of
that is.
he played on subliners last year before this past season. Yeah, he wasn't around that long. He kind of think he got dropped after Major One, Major Two. So yeah, he was an AR, I believe, and I'd, I'd go I'd go there for him because I mean we didn't really get to
Yeah,
see him a lot this season.
yeah.
Same
Can't
thing
quite put
with
him at the F tier.
yeah, same thing with quite a few of these guys. You got Tyler Zero, who same thing. He's
Yeah,
or
he was
I
probably on
said
that Major
Tyler.
One roster.
Yeah, he was on that early adaptation of the Ravens. Wasn't really around long enough to kind of be any sort of impact. Same thing with this with this next guy, Pro Luke, who I believe was the sub,
I
the
think
first sub that they're
Prolu
coming up.
was, yeah. Because
But
didn't they drop him for Standy?
yeah. That was at
Major 3, I think. 2. I don't
well, I
remember.
know they picked up two real if I'm not mistaken at one point.
Yeah, 2 real was Major 2, and then he got accused of
Yeah.
cheating because of a wall bang spot in
Yeah, they picked up two real.
Silo.
Yeah. And then you got Illy
Illy
kind of again.
didn't have the longest year this year, but
Yeah, I played Major One.
I
And then they had the whole optic
dashy
thing.
situation.
So I mean, he wasn't
Didn't
around.
Yeah, I didn't get to see much of him.
Same thing with Dave Patty. Everybody loves Dave Patty, but
Dave Patty is a legend.
just he wasn't around much. So
Yeah.
and then we got Crimp. I'm gonna say C. He played a
Yeah, I
couple
give
majors.
yeah.
They gave him a
He
shot, and he at the beginning he was really good. I liked
yeah.
him.
And then he kind of started to fall off a little towards the last couple majors he played.
Yeah, he kind of slowed down a little bit, and then kind of they replaced him for somebody else a little bit more fresh.
Havoc. I'd put Havoc up in C.
I'd put Havoc in C. I mean, he had some good upside to him throughout the season, and
Havoc's an SMG, buddy.
oh, is he? Oh,
Yeah.
oops. I guess I was looking at the next person.
Yeah, because they put Havoc as their substitute when they pick.
All right. I mean, moving on. Then you got varsities. I'd go with C.
Yeah.
He played the whole season, but it was not a good.
It wasn't a normal season that we would see out of our cities.
Yeah, it's not something that something you like to see out of somebody like him. Been around the scene for a
Mm-hmm.
long time. Just having a really off year. I think he was kind of chalked, especially midway through the season
After
whenever they talked about moving him to optics. So
mm-hmm.
and then we got Two Real. I'd put Two Real in kind of the same boat as Prolute. Kind of
Yeah, didn't even make it to the actual major stage before they dropped him for Standy.
yeah, he didn't get to play around a lot. So
I think he
I
played maybe 2 weeks,
something like that. And then
but he was on that team with Ghosty.
yeah, and then I'd put
Yuli.
Yuli right there.
Yuli had some good games that he popped off in, and then but most of the season he didn't really perform that well.
Yeah, he was kind of
He was definitely
thrown out there in a
yeah.
way. Uh, but but
He was one
but
of those safe picks and prize picks that you always picked under for and usually hit.
but I mean, you could see the promise in him though. He had times where he shined, but he kind of got
Yeah,
like I said with that Raven system. It was kind of like all right, let's try to see if this piece will work. Let's see if this piece will work.
yeah.
He was kind of one of
Kind of
those
the same way
pieces.
Boston was.
Yeah, he was kind of one of those pieces where it was just like, let's try it.
And he worked for a little bit.
Yeah. Major Maniac.
Didn't see much of him.
Yeah, he was kind of out of there by
Major
major
one.
major one or two. Really, really didn't get to see much of him at all. He was part of that team in Major One that upset that optic team. He was part of that workout group that did some pull ups on him at the major. I remember that
Yep.
one. And then we move on to Assault.
He
Assault.
got didn't he get dropped major one too?
No, Assault got added
Oh,
major
major
one.
two for
Yeah, after he
yeah.
was on
Saul
that
was the one.
academy
Yeah, he was on
team.
that academy team.
Yeah, the only reason I don't put him D, I mean that whole camp I would probably put D is the only reason I don't because he actually played a whole season. I mean we saw him play Major One, and we saw him play throughout the rest of the season. But not a good year at all for the
No, LA.
from that camp
I
as a
think
whole.
LAG was just shocked after all of the rumors going on, saying that they weren't going to be a team next year.
Yeah. And then moving on, you got McKenzie. I'd put him C as well. I mean, he was kind of that guy where Sturge really kind of needed him to pull that weight and kind of be that center
Yeah,
where he just couldn't this year. He couldn't keep up with them. And the Surge guys kind of left him behind. And with that whole movement, the whole roster situation.
With Fred
Um,
possibly going to Optic, Dashy coming over,
yeah, I think that
Omar leaving.
that whole camp was kind of done there as well. Yeah, so moving on, I
Fred even
guess.
said it himself that
Yeah,
that whole after that whole situation that he's shocked.
yeah. So moving on, we got Scraps. What do I have him under? Is he an AR or sub? I want to say he was AR.
Uh, he was a flex, so yeah, AR.
All right, we'll put him AR. I want to say ASIM was the other sub, and
Yeah, Asim and Nasty were the two sub. Or no,
no,
Nasty was the other AR.
yeah. I want
It
to
was
say
Yuli and Asim.
Mr. Narsty was the other AR. But Scraps is a good guy. Didn't see him much last year for that London team. Been around that London team for a long time. I would put him at D, but I like Scraps as a player way too much. I think you give him the right system, he really shines.
Yeah, same way with Asim.
Yeah, we're gonna go with next with one of your boys, Hixie.
I'd honestly I'd put him up in the B tier. He was very pivotal for that Ultra team once he got added. He was there, able to stop the rotates and stuff. He was one of those slower SMG players. He didn't have too much of like those big highlight moments, but when he did, they were pretty crazy. Like you'd get those three pieces, everyone would freak out. He was big pivotal in that S&D scene for Ultra.
I could see the shout for B, but he kind of exploded onto the scene
Yeah.
and then tapered off toward the end there. He was kind of that hole in that kind of top tier
Hmm.
team. Whereas I think if they had somebody else there, they probably would have seen a little bit more upside. I think toward the end of the year, if he would have picked it up toward the end, I probably would agree with you on the B. But
Yeah.
I don't think he was kind of the anchor dragging that ultra ship behind.
I can respect the C tier. I'm Ixie for that.
But for these next guys, I'm putting him as a B.
Yeah,
Granted,
definitely.
we didn't see him play, but only two majors.
Two majors, but he's
But
still really good.
but
Sub.
they put him in the role that he was playing, and he really was good. Like I said,
Mhm.
Fame is kind of one of those younger guys that I really like, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think if he would have played both of those majors at his role, I think he would have
He
really
would have
done a
really
great
shined.
job. Moving on, we got Standy.
Andy started off the year with Ultra, didn't work out, and went to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
I
I think at the beginning of the season we probably would have put him C. He really didn't
yeah.
he didn't fit that ultra role at all. They thought he was going to be that young guy, and then you got Scrap being actually being that young guy to come in and
Mhm.
really turn that team around. But I'd put and then but once he went to Legion and he got a team around him that
Team
kind of
veterans around him for sure. He started to shine a little better.
yeah, I think they put a good casting crew around him, adding him on
Yeah,
there, and I think that really picked up his value last season.
his stock definitely raised when he went to Legion for sure.
Yeah, and then next we got Nero. Uh,
Um,
Nero, I want to say B for Nero because,
I want to say B too.
but I think it's more C. We really didn't see him much this season,
Mhm.
and whenever we didn't see him, sometimes you never kind of knew what you were gonna get out of him.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, so I'd put him in that C area because I mean
he wasn't the most consistent player
they
on that team.
like we said before they took away Zenny and it kind of for that team just went downhill from there.
Mhm.
And I think moving on to Brack next, we can really. I think he's going to be our first BAR
BAR, yeah.
player because I like Brack. Brack was the only
Back,
player on that
yeah.
team with a positive KD throughout the whole season. Really, I think he was the only player on that team that stayed the whole season. But
Yeah.
but I like Brack. I think Brack had a pretty good year. It's kind of the only factor that kind of moved that team forward.
Hmm.
Kind of was that figurehead for that squad for the two SMGs that they got at the end of the year. That really was that thorn in the side for everybody in the league.
Yeah.
And then moving on, we got Vivid. Vivid, Vivid's kind of one of those guys like Standy where I would put him C kind of.
At the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they had Zinni and I believe Wake and Nero, and I think he kind of had to play more of a role that
He
didn't
wasn't
fit
used
him.
to play.
Whereas toward the end of the year, they bring him back and he kind of has a really
Popped
good,
off.
yeah, he has a really good good couple of majors. I believe he played a couple of them.
Yeah, I think he played in Major 5 and then in Champs.
Yeah, and then
Mistaken.
and then moving on, we got Joe Deceives.
Joey D. I would I would probably put Joey D up uh, in I want to say B tier, but seeing what we saw last year, I just can't put him up there towards the end of the season. I'd have to put him in the C tier.
I could agree. That camp was just not good, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I would love to say B. He's a thieves guy now, but yeah, that whole camp there was they just were really just kind of unfortunate kind of team.
yeah.
Could they had promise, just couldn't capitalize. We got Bance next.
Bands.
Bance, an original ultra guy.
I could put Bands up in the B tier sub. He did have a really good year this year.
I
Coming
would
from, or not like really good, but like
I wouldn't say good. I'd say he was probably one of the most consistent
yeah,
out of all the rocker
yeah, out of
guys,
that rocker camp for sure.
especially for the SMG role. Kind of
Hmm.
you had Fame kind of have that off major whenever he had a role change, and then you had Afro who was kind of had a really good start, was an MVP candidate at the beginning, and then at the end toward
Tapered
the end
off towards the
there,
end of the year.
getting replaced by Fame for the SMG role. So yeah, I think B. And then moving on, we got Dylan Attach. Got dropped.
Dylan at the catch.
Yeah, he got
Got
what?
dropped at the beginning of the year.
No, I think it was a little bit toward mid-season. It was like Major 2, Major 3 is whenever they went to replace him. But he comes back and really kind of turns the team
Yeah,
around. So I'd give him B. 'Cause, I mean,
he was a pivotal role of knocking Legion out of champs contenders.
yeah, I think he was a big part of that team in the beginning with him, Bance, Cammy, and Afro.
Yeah,
Just I think that coaching staff kind of tried to dictated the roles a little bit too much and
yeah.
ultimately messed that team up. Then we got ASIM.
Ace.
I think
Oh man,
I think
he's definitely a B
one
tier.
I think one of the highlights of that Ravens team, I think you give him and maybe Narsty another go around with that Ravens squad, and you get us some good supporting young guys around them. And
They could really show us something this year.
yeah, I think he definitely deserves another go around in the league. Then moving on, we got We got the Snake God.
That's got to be an S tier.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to put him anything lower than S. He's one of those goated players that we've seen the past couple or few years.
yeah,
Just
he's just insane. I mean, you pair that with the 1.4 KD that he has, 1.5 or whatever that everybody talks about. I mean,
every year.
you can't hate him for being good.
Yeah. You can hate him for being on phase, but you can't hate him for being good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's an insane player.
Yeah.
And then you got Draza. Draza, another Thieves guy. Would love to put him in S, but
I gotta put him in A
I'd put
too.
him in A. I don't think he had that well of a season like he did in Vanguard. I think
Vanguard.
Vanguard he was an animal. This year he was kind of one of the top S&D players for that Thieves team, but just really kind of toward the end there just wasn't kind of that guy.
He was
He couldn't give it that extra oomph
yeah,
that team needed.
needed for sure.
And I mean, there was multiple times where that Thieves team was just
They
terrible
were look
online.
they were looking bad, but then they came and made those loser bracket runs
Yeah,
that
but
they're known for.
but I think he's definitely still one of the top players from last season.
Yeah.
Just there was times where he was off. He wasn't they weren't that consistent. He wasn't that
Yeah.
consistent guy like he was in Vanguard. Then moving on to Clay. Clay, I would love to put Clay at A.
He has to go B.
I
He just
think he has to go
he's
B.
getting old. He's getting old. He's losing his touch.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that same Clay we're used to, honestly. Great player. I think he still has more in the tank. Just like our
If
boy
we're
Dylan Attach, but just
if we're talking overall stats, then S tier for sure.
yeah, he's
But
best of the best, but yeah, just
it's one of the last few to stick around between the Scump, Zinnies, and all of them.
yeah, one of the OGs of the scene, honestly. And moving on. Next, we got Brew.
Bruce, gotta put him in S,
And it's just you tell that man to hold down a lane,
and he's got that. You
you're
ain't
not
getting through that lane.
you're not getting through that lane, man. He just shoots way too straight. Just way
His
too
bullets
straight.
are always connecting. It doesn't matter.
Put a sniper
I
in
mean,
his hand and it's game over. So he just
yeah,
he's a phenomenal player. I think now that he kind of took the step back and kind of figured out his role a little bit more, I think it made him better of a player later on in the season.
after the whole drama with
Yeah,
him and Rambo Ray.
yeah. I think this season's gonna be a big season for him.
Mm-hmm.
Next we got Simp.
Simp, S tier.
No,
No, last year, yeah. Well, I gotta put him in A.
this past season kind of saw him slow down a little bit, but
I feel like that had a lot to do with the game mechanics and everything. I see we have a big bounce back year for him this year.
yeah, I think with him not knowing like not being
What
between
role he's playing.
yeah, I think now that he's knows for sure that he's this sub, then I think we're going to see a big jump in his play style like we used to see back with the
Cold
E
War.
United or early CDL era. Next we got TJ Holly.
Each.
Unfortunately,
B.
it's got to go B.
He had a few questionable plays last year.
Yeah, there's a couple times where people stand in front of him and he just doesn't see him.
Yep.
And I just can't put it past him, especially that Fortress one.
Yeah, that was a little something.
Yeah, it's insane. Next we got Dylan Envoy.
The North Prince himself.
Gotta go A. Great player, probably one of the top. I want to say he was top 10 SMGs this past season.
Yeah.
Uh,
Great stats.
yeah, he's a phenomenal guy. If you need somebody to wrap around
Always
and
that consistent player, though.
yeah, but But I
Until he
mean,
gets banned on GBs for keyboarding.
but I think he still has a more to grow
Yeah,
and
definitely.
definitely be that SMG for Ultra this coming season. I'd love to see him do
I think
better.
he's gonna fit perfectly into the Ultra system, the way they
Yeah,
have things set up.
yeah. I think he now that he's kind of the main guy and he doesn't really have to be like he can be the star player that he
Yeah.
needs to be rather than kind of taking that back seat. And we got Pred, probably our first S sub.
Yeah, S tier sub for sure.
Really, probably the one of the main highlights of that Surge team last year. Uh, Even after the whole roster debacle, still was putting up numbers.
So yeah, still had a phenomenal year. He just didn't really have a team that could keep up with those numbers that he's putting out to push them into that upper echelon of teams.
Yeah, he's kind of like that guy in any sport where you see him. If he's available, anybody will pick him up.
Yeah.
He's irreplaceable. He's an insane player. Moving on, got Cammy.
And
Cam
he,
Cammy, I'd probably put in B.
yeah.
Good year, kind of in the middle of the pack kind of year. Probably definitely one of your better ARs throughout the
Yeah,
season.
him and Bance were definitely the two most consistent on that rocker team.
Yeah, you kind of knew that you were gonna get something out of both of them throughout the
Hmm.
whole season. Um, but I mean, he's a good player. He's over in this LA Thieves camp now. He's got Shane and J Cap, and he's got a young supporting cast with him. So maybe he'll have a better year. Maybe he'll have a year like he did with Ultra back in Cold War or something, and help those guys reach the promised land. Hopefully, Thieves will raise another trophy. You know.
I'm hoping Ultra gets a trophy this year, buddy.
0-2, man. 0-2.
Uh,
Eventually, I'll get it.
we'll get it one day.
Just as long as y'all don't keep running into beast of the teams, I think maybe I'll finally will get one.
maybe
Ne-
maybe if we go up against Thieves and Chance, we might actually get one.
It'll be close, but I don't know. Our champs record is 1-1. So next we got Lamar.
Lamar.
Lamar. The only reason I put accuracy at B is just you know what you expect from accuracy.
Yeah,
You're not really expecting him to kind of go insane
crazy.
like your Drazas and your Celium and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You kind of know that he's
he's
gonna
gonna
do what he
be
has to do.
he's gonna be that average player that you're gonna get something out of, but you're not gonna get that S tier performance out of.
Yeah, I think he knows his role and
Yeah,
he's gonna do his role the best. Next we got Beans. Beans.
and that's another B tier.
Yeah, I'd definitely put him B. Just for
I
the
would I would love to put him up in A, but he just wasn't that consistent in what we saw it out of him. There were
yeah
some games that he would just fry, especially on the online matches. He would just fry in those. Possibly because of sound EQ, but
yeah you got that whole sound EQ camp over there in Boston Breach, but I think it's just because of that camp not having that core guy like Zenny,
yeah,
uh, them kind of just doing what they want freely rather than having a role and sharing it. You know, I think
yeah,
it was kind of more of a power struggle throughout the season, trying to figure out who needs to do what. And
yeah,
next we got Cap. Now I would love to put Cap in A.
yeah.
I would love. I think he's a young guy who's really good, and I think
I
this
feel
is.
like next year he'll be up there and
I think
A
this
tier.
season, the second go around breach, he'll be that guy that everybody kind of
Yeah.
sees he can be. But for this season, I'd probably put him in B. He definitely was probably the next to Brack, the most consistent guy on that
Yeah.
team. A really good sub. Really knew how to control the map this past season. Just I'm just waiting for him to hit that level that I know he can hit. I mean, bounced around a little bit this year, filled in for Kenny a couple of games and did pretty well. Uh,
Yeah.
beat beat Ultra with Thieves uh, as a fill-in. So I mean, I think he's a really good
He
player.
he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, definitely could see a lot coming from him. He's a really young guy, so I'd like to see him do better. I hope this camp can really get behind him and push him to do a little bit better. I think he can kind of take the spearhead of that that SMG duo with him and Snoopy, seeing as though he has more of the experience in that. So
Yeah.
next we got Slasher.
Lasha.
Uh,
I'd put him up at the A tier.
I'd put him A. Just he had a good year.
Yeah.
It's really hard to value him next to those three fucking studs of a player.
Yeah. That's
But
three fucking demons.
but I think he did phenomenal for what he had. You know, kind of broke that curse for FaZe of getting second place and finally got him
Yeah.
another championship. But I think given the circumstances, he did the best he could. Next, we got the reigning MVP.
S tier sub for sure.
He's insane. That fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's
The
insane.
French phenom.
He he went
Zuma's little
crazy.
counter, little prodigy over there.
He just kind of owned the whole league all year.
Yeah.
He
There
kind
was
of
no stopping him
yeah no he did whatever he wanted to do. he
when he wanted to do it.
yeah there's no stopping that guy.
He starts getting steam under his belt, man. There you better run and hide.
Yeah. Another guy, the next guy, man. Another young
S
young
tier
guy.
AR.
Listen,
He
all right,
had
okay.
he had
This
the
is
year of his life.
listen. I would love to put him at S. I think he's an S tier. Okay, but I can't compare what he did with who I have in S tier to his skill level. We've seen him 1 year in the pros.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, you can bump him to A.
I'd put him A for now.
Yeah, for now, yeah.
Depending on this next season, will change my opinion on it. If he has a worse year, then I'll be right in this A thing. If I'm
Yeah.
wrong, then I will gladly put him S. I will come back to this video, put a snippet at the end, and I will say he is S tier. But I say A because I think he had that big of a year because I mean, Insight and Kleenex are good, just they're not that good. So
Yeah, they're not those.
I think he stepped in the shoes that he needed to fill.
Yeah.
Just, but I think you give him another star like Envoy. I think he can either shine more or shine a little less.
Yeah. So I think he's not gonna have as good of a year that he did this year, but I still would like to see him shine.
But I agree with you 100%. He 100% had an S tier year. But do I think he's an S tier player right now? Not really.
I can agree with this. I will stomach this and put him at A.
Okay, because the year that Pred was a rookie, you could look at Pred and be like, he's phenomenal, but he's not that S tier player. Or he was S tier. Let's talk about Sib. Sib, whenever he was competing with Pred for Rookie of the Year, right? He was
Yeah.
insane. Is straight shooter. Like everybody gave him props, but he wasn't like because he had that other star, he wasn't
Yeah.
the S tier.
Hmm.
He was the A tier. So I
Fair
think
enough.
that's what Scrap is. I think he's S tier in this game. Just I think he might be an A tier player.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You
Breach,
had the facts to back it.
but next we got Big Wake. I'd put him.
Wake.
I'd put him B. I mean, yeah, B.
Yeah.
Just for
He's
the
definitely one of the most consistent out of that breach camp.
yeah, he had that Slayer power. Just that's about it. He just slayed,
Yeah.
and that was the problem. There's just nobody in that camp that kind of took over, and where
Uh-huh.
he should have been that guy, he did it. He kind of just played the Slayer role and did his thing. Next we got Vickle.
Cool.
I'd put him
I
B.
definitely put him B.
I'd put him B
He
because
has he has a lot of room to grow.
yes, definitely he's
Say
one.
same way with Cap.
Yeah, he's kind of been around for a little bit now, a little longer than Cap. But yeah, I think he has promise. He's an S&D monster most of the
Yeah.
time. So I could see him B. I could see him touch that A category, but right now I'd say B.
Yeah.
Uh, Next we got Crimp. I would like to say B because he looks really promising.
Yes.
But
Agreed.
I say C because he has promise, but we've seen so little
We
of him.
we haven't seen much
We
out of
haven't,
him.
yeah, exactly. So that's the only reason I say C because we don't know. We don't know what we're gonna get out of him. Next, we got this the other gorilla.
Yeah, see tier. Film there.
Yeah, that like I said or like we said earlier, the that camp just was bad.
Uh, not
It
not
was
what we
just
were
bad.
expecting out of that camp.
Yeah, not at all. They had a good that those three guys had a good major one, and then after that, it was kind of just a chalked season.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got Shotzi.
He
Again, another person I'd love to put in S.
he just didn't
Just,
have that S tier year.
yeah, just the cast he had around him kind of lessened his star power
Yeah.
and his performance. Really, kind of had a like an off on kind of. He'd have those strides, some majors, and then some games you kind of be like, where to go, you know?
Where's Shotzi?
But I think with Kenny coming over, I think he's gonna have a better year, especially if
Yeah.
him and Pred. He kind of gets to be a free flowing kind of sub, while Pred's kind of that guy that's gonna run at a wall for him, and Shotzi can
Yeah,
be.
we're gonna see a lot more of Shotzi going rogue
Yeah,
for sure.
I think this year Shotzi will be able to do his thing. Next we got Narsty.
Narsty.
I'd put him B. Like I said earlier,
Yeah.
I think him and Asim were the only two kind of
Promisable
yeah
candidates on that Ravens team.
I think him and Asim kind of deserve a run it back kind of year for that camp over there. Next we got Temp. Now
Old.
I think a lot of people would put him here,
Yeah.
but me
I just don't think he had that year this year though.
yeah there's just if you run it with a one team for 3 4 years now and you're kind of getting the same results. At some point you gotta think like am I the problem, am I holding the team back? I mean, granted they
Yeah.
put a lot of different people around him, but like he even whenever he was with Thieves he kind of still didn't he still wasn't that player, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean I think if you can get the right people around him, he would definitely be that A tier. He's been around
Hmm.
for a while. He's been a top player for a while, so I think he could be A. Just he's not there yet.
Yeah,
Next we got Kiz. I'd say A.
A tier. Yeah,
I think he's another one of those guys that could be an S tier. Just kind of had a
started
slow.
off slow and
Yeah,
then started to pick it up towards the end of the year.
yeah. Another one. Tyler started off slow. The
That
only
LAG camp, the major one
yeah, just
that got dropped.
the only downside is just the inconsistencies. But I mean, you can still see him performing. He's there. He's definitely
I
there.
mean,
He's one
yeah,
of those guys.
we've seen him in the past with that Dallas Empire squad just frying, and we see him at the beginning of this year with LAG just doing nothing, and then going to Optic. Like, what was that, Major 3 that he moved? He got picked up by Optic.
Yeah, I think it was right after the break.
Yeah, because that's when they picked up Ghosty too.
Yeah, but then I'd put then we got Skies. I'd put Skies at B.
Yeah,
He kind of you kind of don't know what you're gonna get out of him. He could
very
pop off.
inconsistent.
I wouldn't say inconsistent, but sometimes he plays slow. Sometimes he plays fast. You never know what you're gonna get out of him.
Yeah.
Uh, this is one of your boys, so I think
Oh, Kleenex. Oh, Kleenex. I'd put him at either A or B tier.
I'd say
I'd say B.
I'd
He
say B. He's just not a superstar, you know.
yeah.
He's not that guy that you really kind of worry about. He's a system guy. That's why him and Insider kind of been together for a long time now. I think they just
Pretty
him
much
and
since they both came into the league.
yeah, I just think they both are comfortable where they are and they're comfortable with their play style and it works. So they just keep doing it. Next we got Dan Ghosty.
Definitely an A tier.
A
Yeah,
tier.
I
I'd put him B. And I'm a
yeah,
Dan Ghosty fan.
only because we've only seen him for 3 majors.
Well, we've seen him 3 majors, but I mean, what
He
we
was the man in challengers though.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. I could see him being an A if we had
Yeah.
that Dan Ghosty from Challengers, but just
I didn't see him becoming that guy for LAT though, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, just but like that him with Optic, he was kind of just that UAV person,
Mhm.
sit back in the hill, hang out and everything. I think
Wasn't
now he
really
can
able to play his game.
yeah, I think now he'll be able to do his thing and really shine this coming season.
Yeah, for sure.
Next we got Afro. I'm gonna go B.
Another lackluster player that we got this year.
Unfortunately, he tapered off toward the end. I think we can all agree that in the beginning of the season he would have been 100% an A sub,
A
but
tier, yeah.
just toward the end of the year, just it didn't. I guess everybody just figured out how to counter him. You know,
Hmm.
he just kind of
He
fell
wasn't
apart.
he wasn't changing with teams that were figuring out what he was doing at the year.
Yeah,
And he wasn't gonna go. He wasn't trying to switch it up.
yeah. I think he could. It's kind of a what could have been kind of thing from him.
Yeah,
Next we got
I hope
Kurt.
I see some promisable things with him with AT.
I hope so. Next we got Priesta. Again, I'll go
Another
B.
BC.
That AR duo from last year's NYSL kind of they knew their role. They knew they weren't the
Yeah.
guys. They just kind of sat back. So he's kind of like Skies, you know. They could pop off or they could play slow. You never knew what you were gonna
Yeah.
get. Like they did them both. They were there when they were needed, for sure.
Hmm.
So that's why I would say B. Then we got another one of your guys.
Insight. He's um. I'd put him at a BT AR for sure.
All right.
He didn't have. He wasn't like one of those big Slayer ARs that like you see in Scrap, but he was very pivotal in that control game mode where he would sit back and just watch that point and just be annoying. It
Yeah,
was he
I
he had
think.
a very pivotal point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's a slower guy. He just kind of sat back and controlled the game a little bit more. Let Scrap kind of do the dirty work on the AR part. So I agree. Next we got Mr. Civ Dante.
Hold on, definitely an AR, A tier AR.
Yeah, I think you give him another SMG and I think he could really blossom into one of those kind of dashy and Celium
I'm
kind of.
excited to see what he does with Kismet and Hydra over in
Yeah,
NYSL.
yeah, I think he's gonna be the kind of Slayer
hmm
AR.
I,
I
I
think
see him having that breakout year that he had his rookie year in Van.
yeah, I think we'll see him blossom into a Celium or and a dashy kind of player this coming year.
hmm
Next we got Quavo Kin. We want to go
Much as I would
A
love to
or
put him
S.
in an S tier, I would have to put him in an A.
Now Quavo Ken, Mr. Kenny here, he top probably top five SMG this past season. Finds his way on the optics, switching roles again, going back to the flex. Uh, but yeah, like I said, top five SMG this past year. Probably one of the better duos this past season.
Yeah,
Just I don't know. Just I don't think he could have done a little bit better. Like that whole roster
yeah.
they just kind of would fall off for them online majors. Next we got Abizi. I think we can
Put him in
all
the S tier.
I think
Yeah,
we all agree Abizi is S.
he's just a fucking monster,
He's a freak of nature when it comes to
unstoppable.
yeah, he's insane. What like he's gonna continue to do good things. He's been good since he's come into the league, so uh, he's gonna continue to be good. I think he's the next Scump. Honestly,
Yeah.
he's that crazy.
hmm
He kind of just blossomed onto the scene as a good player, and he's gonna continue to be a good player.
He only has more room to grow too.
Yeah. Next we got Zenny. we
Oh,
only
Fat Tony.
we only got him for what
Two
two
majors.
majors.
Yeah.
But
Oh, 2.5.
I think he was
Because
he was the glue to that breach team that
yeah,
kind of dissolved toward the at whenever he left. But yeah, sadly he's retired now, and Mr. Three Chips is or two chips. I'm giving him one more than he has, I think.
yeah,
He's
he's my
retired.
Mr. Two Chips.
Mr. Larue.
LaRue Cocktain. He's definitely one of those S tier ARs.
My dad had probably the him and this last guy probably had the best send off years you possibly had.
Yeah.
They kind of went out on top. They both. I'll say I'll do this too while we're here. He was a flex this past season too, but
Yeah. He started
yeah,
off as a sub and then they picked up Hook and he moved to a flex.
yeah, he just yeah, they both had a phenomenal year. They had a great send off, and it was
Kind of wish we would have been able to see Scump through the entire season.
yeah, I think he just kind of lost interest in
hmm
playing, and it's gonna suck not seeing them play no more. Two
Yeah.
two of the older
Those are two
players.
players that we've seen growing up watching this.
Yeah, but I think that's a good list. And like I said,
Yeah.
once we get a confirmed roster from every team,
come back and do it again.
Come back and do a preseason power rankings. And
Maybe do a team ranking too.
yeah, we'll come back. We'll do a team ranking and do a player ranking. But other than that, that's all we got today. Hope you enjoyed and tune into the next one. Noah, you got anything?
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go back, watch our past episodes. If this is the first one you're watching. Hopefully you guys stay around to come watch the rest of the episodes that we have planned and just ride it out with us. Have a nice night, guys.
All right, see you on the next one.